Hey guys, this is Matt. You're watching TV Punch for Wednesday, November 25th, and today I'm going to be talking about Arrow Season 4, Episode 7, titled Brotherhood. This actually aired last week, and I'm just really behind on videos. My apologies for that. We've got the awesome Arrow Flash crossover two-parter coming the week after next, so that's going to really get me back on track because I'm not going to wait for that. I'm totally excited for that. But for this episode, I'm going to run through some quick hits and some major plot points. There was a lot of stuff that happened in this episode, so I've got some notes here. I'm not going to lie. I might have to read a little bit because there's a lot of stuff that happened. I don't want to miss anything. But with that said, if you haven't watched the episode yet, pause this, go watch it, come back. You'll be glad you did. But as for quick hits, the first one is a reference to a company called Wolfman Biologics. That is obviously a reference to legendary comics creator Marv Wolfman. He's had his hands in everything. I just thought it was a nice nod to... I love when they put creators' names in. I think this is the first time I've ever seen Oliver run out of arrows. I don't know for sure. It seems like maybe there was one other time, but this one was very obvious. He pretty much got caught with his pants down. I just thought it was funny. He's always got a quiver full of arrows, and this time he actually uses them all, and Diggle saves his bacon. I just thought that was a lot of fun. So on to the major plot points for this episode. The biggest one, the major plot point that this episode revolves around is that Diggle's brother Andy is still alive. We didn't really know this. Well, see, this is the thing they actually kind of ruined in the preview for this episode that they showed at the end of the last one. I wish they hadn't done that because it was kind of fun to speculate. We didn't really know for sure. But it's confirmed that Diggle's brother's alive. He's working for Hive. Now, when Diggle finds this out, he's not super thrilled. You would think he would be because, hey, my brother's alive. That's awesome. I thought he's been dead for 8 years. But because of what he found out in the last couple episodes from Lance, which he got from Damien Dark, it turns out that Andy was sort of a bad guy. He was a criminal mastermind. He was a mob boss in Afghanistan. And Hive... supposedly they took him down because they wanted in on his business, but apparently they just brought him into their ranks instead. And Diggle's not real thrilled with this. The rest of Team Arrow wants to get Andy out. They want to rescue him from the clutches of Hive. And Diggle's not really having it. He's not cool with the fact that Andy is sort of a bad dude, and he can't come to grips with that. Thankfully, he does, and I'll talk more about that in just a bit. So it turns out that Damien Dark is becoming a little mistrustful of Captain Lance. He blames Lance, and rightfully so, as we know, but he blames Lance for summoning him a couple episodes ago and basically bringing him out in the open, which lets Team Arrow follow them. He threatens Captain Lance again, and he says that the death of your daughter isn't the only thing I can threaten you with. So I'm kind of interested to see what that means. I don't know if he's got another personal attack that he can make against Lance, or if he's just saying, yeah, I could kill your daughters and I could destroy the city too. I don't know if it's more general, like he's threatening Captain Lance with the destruction of Star City, which he wants to do anyway, or if maybe Lance's ex-wife, maybe Laurel and Sarah's mom, maybe he has her too, or maybe he can get to her, and that's what he's going to threaten him with. So I hope that they expand on that a little bit more, because I want to know, if you can threaten Lance on more than just Laurel and I guess Sarah's death. I want to know what that is. Thea gets a visit from Malcolm. We haven't got to see Malcolm much this season, and we get to see him a couple times this episode. He's coming in. He's a concerned father. He wants to check up on Thea. He says, "Hey, the two guys you killed in Nanda Parbat, that satiated your bloodlust, it's probably wearing off by now because it's been about a month, and you probably need to kill again. Here's a file of information about a pedophile. Go kill him, and it'll make you feel better." She's not really having this. She tells him to get out. I made a note that said, I wonder if she'll start doing this in secret, kind of like killing bad guys as a way to quell the bloodlust. And I wrote down sort of like a vampire needing blood. And then after some things that happen later in the episode that I'll talk about in a minute, I know that that's not going to be true. But Malcolm, such a loving dad. Hey, I know that you're probably wanting to kill again. Here's a bad guy. Go get him, and you'll feel much better. He's a stand-up guy. He really is. One of the coolest things I thought happened in this episode was the fact that Oliver Queen meets Damien Dark. So obviously Green Arrow has gone up against Dark a couple times, and Dark knows all about Green Arrow. But now it's the other half. It's Oliver Queen meeting Damien Dark. There's been some speculation that maybe Damien Dark already knows that Oliver Queen is Green Arrow. I kind of don't think so, or at least when they first met, and I'll talk more about that in a minute too, but I kind of thought that when they first met that Damien didn't know that Oliver was Green Arrow, which was really cool because pretty much everybody else in Star City knows that Oliver is Green Arrow, and so it's finally nice to see that the bad guy, the guy that you don't want to know Green Arrow's secret identity, actually doesn't know. So anyway, Damien approaches Oliver about helping fund his campaign for his run for mayor, not only with money but with influence. He has connections in the business sector, he said, and other connections like that. Now, in return for this support, Damien Dark wants Oliver to scrap his project to reclaim the bay that's in the middle of Star City, probably because that's sort of where they do all their shady business. And if Oliver goes in there cleaning things up, Hive's going to be out of a place to live. They're going to have to go apartment hunting or something like that. Oliver's kind of wise to Damien's game, but he talks to Team Arrow, and he wants to actually sort of work with Damien as a way to take down Hive from the inside. Does that sound familiar? Maybe last season when he tried to take down the League of Assassins from the inside, that didn't work out so well, and everybody was trying to talk him out of it. He's pretty adamant about it. But eventually, after further events in the episode happen, he decides that he's going to fight Damien in the light. So we get this really great scene at the end of the episode where Oliver is making another press conference, and he's talking about, I'm not ever going to... And it's cool because Damien is there in the crowd, I should mention that, and Oliver's making a speech saying that he's not going to give up fighting for this city. He is going to forge ahead with his project to save the bay, but the whole time he's looking right at Damien when he's saying this, and Damien's looking back, and he's all mad and stuff. So they're going to lock horns, and it's at this point that I wonder. Damien Dark's a smart guy. It's at this point I wonder. Now does he know that Oliver is Green Arrow? Now is he sort of putting two and two together, or does he think there's two do-gooders that he has to deal with? But that was a nice change of pace because, again, Oliver was going to work with him kind of in the shadows, and there was a great moment between Oliver and Diggle where Diggle actually says, if you do this, you're going to be fighting him in the shadows. Let's take this guy down in the light of day. And Oliver agrees, and that is a big change for this show. Everything's been literally at night, but everything's been so dark, and everything's been done by the Hood or the Vigilante or Arrow. Now we get Oliver Queen, the Oliver Queen persona in the public eye. We get Oliver working against Damien Dark, and that's going to be really interesting to see more of a public political battle, I guess. Obviously, there's going to be some ass kicking too, but we're going to see Oliver work his magic in the day, and then of course Green Arrow is going to do his stuff at night too. That's going to be awesome. A nice change for the show. I can't wait to see how that pans out. So we learn a little bit more about Hive, and specifically the ghosts this episode. We learn that the ghosts are under the influence of a little yellow pill, and it basically makes them susceptible to suggestion. So the ghosts look like they're pretty loyal followers. I thought they were just really quality henchmen, but apparently they're taking a little drug that makes them do as they're told, makes them behave. And so I don't know where that's going to go. There's a great idea that I actually think is going to be true. And I think it was on the Arrow Squad podcast, which if you are not listening to the Arrow Squad podcast, that's one of my favorite podcasts out there right now. They do such a great job recapping every episode. I love it. Check them out. Arrowsquad.com is where you can go. And of course, they're on all other podcaster apps as well. You can find it anywhere. Arrow Squad. It's really great. But there's a great theory that they talked about for this episode that maybe those pills are they tie into the drugs that they're manufacturing on the island in the flashbacks. Because obviously, we think that they're just regular drugs, but maybe they have a little bit of mysticism to them. Maybe that's what makes them so susceptible to suggestion. And of course, Baron Ryder is on the island looking for magical things while these other people are over here picking drugs. I don't think you pick drugs, but they're over here making drugs. And so maybe that's where these pills come from. So if that happens, that'll be a great way to tie in the flashback to the current day story. Again, not that it has to, but it always has before. I really hope that that's what happens, because that's great. Instead of just regular drugs, because I'm wondering, why is Baron Ryder, what's he looking for? Why is he looking for magic stuff when he's got a boat full of drugs over there? Maybe you put two of them together, and then you have these super drugs that make up the ghosts that make up Hive. That'll be awesome if that turns out to be true. So the last big action sequence that we get in this episode is Team Arrow infiltrating Hive in order to rescue Andy. This was really cool. There was a lot of action in this. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. So there was a lot of big things that happened in this. Let me read through some. So surprisingly, I didn't see this coming. I don't know if anybody else did, but Ray shows up in the middle of the fight to help out. Ray in full Atom gear. He flies in and starts kicking butt too. That was a really neat, very organic way to have a guest star or a team up. I thought that was really, really nice, because he was in the episode. He was in the episode quite a bit, helping figure out why the ghosts, some of their genetic markers are deteriorating when they really shouldn't be, because that should be impossible. I didn't even think that, hey, Ray's in the episode. He's got his armor. He can come help out too. And I don't know that they asked him to, but he just flew in out of nowhere, helped out. He kicked a lot of butt. I thought that was really cool, a really well done way to get a guest star in there. During the fight, Thea actually runs into Damien. It's the first time that they've actually sort of met face to face, and he pushes her up against the wall and tries to use his life-sucking powers on her. Totally backfires. And he had a great line. He's very menacing. Damien Dark, he's very calm and reserved, but he's very threatening and mean too. And he pushes her up against the wall, and he puts his hand there, and he has a great line. He says, well, that usually works. So, it was a nice, very quick little bit of humor to Damien Dark before his power backfires and his face goes all weird and veiny and stuff like his victims normally do, and Thea runs off. So that's one of my favorite points of this whole episode is, what is that all about? I have to assume that it has something to do with the Lazarus pit, that Thea came out of it, which if that's true, that means that Sarah would probably have the same effect on him. So I wonder if they're going to call her up a little bit later to help out with Damien. But we're going to find out more about that in the weeks to come. But that was really, I didn't see that coming either. I'm really, really intrigued by why Thea is immune to Damien's powers, and not only that, why did they backfire on him? So not only does Thea cause Damien's powers to backfire on him, but it also quells her bloodlust too. She calls up Malcolm. We get to see him for a second time this episode. She calls him up and says, hey, I'm not going to kill the pedophile, but thanks for looking out. But I want you to help me figure out why Damien's power subdued my bloodlust. I want you to figure out why and figure out how to make that permanent. And it looks like Malcolm doesn't say anything, but it looks like he agrees. So that's going to be a nice little subplot to all of this. Again, Damien Dark is a fantastic villain. I'm loving what Neil McDonough is doing with him so far. And this is only going to get us more exposure to him. And I like seeing him interact with other members of Team Arrow. It can't always be Oliver. It can't always be Green Arrow. This is fantastic. This is going to give us a little bit of payoff to Thea in the Lazarus Pit. It's going to, even though that doesn't exist anymore, the Lazarus Pit's been destroyed, we still get a little taste of that. I can't wait to see how that's all going to work out. So then the last big plot point of this episode, of course, is the flashbacks. I try to save those for the end of each episode because they're not really exciting, but I think we're finally starting to get somewhere. Like I said, maybe the drugs on the island are what comprise the little yellow pills that the ghosts take. But one thing we learned from this, and I didn't know for sure, and I don't know if I was supposed to, but it's definitely confirmed for us this time, is that the woman that Oliver rescued and supposedly killed, that is Diana from Green Arrow Year 1, which is, again, a fantastic story. If you haven't read Green Arrow Year 1, definitely do it. One of my favorites. But it is that character. I don't know if that was confirmed, if we should have known that. I didn't know for sure, although I figured it probably was. But now we know. And he asked her for some help to get a detailed survey map of the island. He has one map of the island, but it's not very detailed. It just shows different parts. He stole that from Baron Ryder. He tells Diana about her brother that he killed at the end of last episode, but he doesn't tell her that it was him that did it. So that's kind of sneaky, Oliver, and I guarantee that comes up at some point because that kind of stuff always does. She's going to get pissed. But until that happens, he's going to get her to help him get a detailed map of the island. And then I don't know what they're going to do after that, but it'll be interesting to see. So the flashbacks still aren't the greatest thing, and there's not that much of them. And I think they're finally going to start slowly tying in. Thank goodness, because they were kind of rough. But thank goodness that I think they're finally going to look at a little bit more tolerable. So that's it for everything that every major plot point that I could think of in this episode. That was a lot. We went through a lot. This video ran long. I'm really sorry, but there was a lot to talk about. These episodes of Arrow, man, there's so much good stuff in them. Flash is doing great too. But I kind of feel like those are a little bit simpler. You know, they're usually about one or two things. There's so much stuff going on in Arrow, and that's a good thing. So I just want to run down everything. I don't want to miss anything, but I'm sure I did. So if I did, please leave a comment below. Let me know what else you thought was cool in this episode that I didn't talk about. Like I said, a week from now, we're going to get the Arrow Flash crossover. That's going to be fantastic. I'm definitely going to be covering that. It will be on time. So, again, apologies for the late videos, but I'm going to post that on time. So if you want to see that, please subscribe by clicking the button below. If you are not watching this on YouTube, you can check it out on youtube.com/nerdpunch. You can also follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook, all /nerdpunch. And you can check out nerdpunch.com where we're posting other cool things that we see online, like the reveal of the Captain America Civil War trailer that hit the internet last night. I only watched that probably about 20 times, so that's going to be awesome. That is on nerdpunch.com. You can also check our schedule of upcoming videos if you want to see what we're doing. And that's it, guys. So great episode of Arrow. I'll get back on track, and until next time, thanks for watching. See ya.